What's up, everybody? My name is Garrett Ritterhaus. This is a Talk in the Attic. We're going to talk a little bit about Dale Carnegie, some really important stuff. Can't wait for you to check it out and reach out afterwards.
It's a mess in this attic, lot going on, but there ain't no need to panic. Come on up and join, we getting wild, getting manic. Spitting truth for all you fanatics. Every week got something new to say. Ain't no filter, this shit coming straight from the brain. It's coming straight from the brain. Yeah, it's coming straight from the brain.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long time since we had just an old-fashioned sit-down interview. How you doing? I'm here with Garrett Ritterhaus. You guys have already met him a little bit through his budding hip-hop career.
Thank you, Kirk. It's awesome to be on a Talk in the Attic, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming in, man. So we're going to talk a lot about a lot of things today.
Oh yeah.
But let's just start with, who are you? Like, let's kind of go with the old-fashioned, like, where are you from? Where are you now? Where are you heading? Kind of vibe.
Understood. Yeah. So my name is Garrett Ritterhaus. I grew up in Troy, Michigan. Went to Avondale High School. I was always this kind of leadership kid.
Yeah.
I remember back in high school, I used to, talk with my mom about classes like every kid does, right? My mom would always joke that my best class in school was the hallways, because all I did was talk to people. I found out that in a leadership class as I went along in my high school career, they got out of class all the time. So I would, I don't know. That's kind of why I guess I started in with leadership classes and found it to be really cool that we had a teacher, Mr. Donahue, that would always challenge us on our purpose and our why. And that was the first moment where I really kind of thought that there was like meaning in my life and what I could possibly do to achieve that purpose was kind of the goal. So I would always sit down and I don't know, I would talk with anybody and everybody about what their purpose was and how I could help them achieve their purpose. And in high school and those ages, it's like, and you really got to figure out what you need to do because you're going through ACT, SAT, and
you're not and you're kind of on autopilot. You're not even really thinking about what that means down the road or what. It's kind of just like you're doing what the next step is.
And honestly, like a lot of us are doing that right now too. Like it doesn't stop. And so here you go in high school, you got this kid, fro hair, everything like that, kind of, very out there, sitting down and talking to you about what your life goals are. And I don't know. I was always nice so people would entertain me, but I found that there's a lot of times where I would just be doing lip service. I would like compliment somebody just to compliment them. And that's where I took my leadership courses a lot more seriously. Ended up going to Central Michigan as my next step of the journey. Fire up chips there for everybody out there. But I went into their LAS program, Leadership Advancement Scholar, and it was a highly competitive program. Mm-hmm. And taking leadership from high school to college was a lot more about like societal differences, right? Racism, sexism, what are all these issues that are currently affecting, people's lives? And it really, once again, opened the doors for me. And that's where I found a lot of people that thought like me, where they were really wanting to talk to people about purpose and had their own passions about, all the different issues that they want to fix in the world. And eventually, that's kind of where I got this interview at a company called Dale Carnegie.
Was that right out of college?
No, I went back home for a little bit. I was still focused on getting people to what they want to do for their lives. So I went to recruiting. And if anybody's ever done recruiting before, it's high turnover because it's like...
Not a fun job.
It's like quick relationships, man. It's like, I call somebody, I talk to them for a week and I put them in a job and every once in a while I touch base with them and hope that they're doing good. But I didn't really feel fulfilled. And there were other things that I looked at and I said, how can I make more out of my each and every day, right? The 24 hours that we get. And once again, now that turned into Dale Carnegie, where this is the job that I want for the rest of my life.
So I know what Dale Carnegie is, a little bit, but like some of the folks listening and watching may not. So explain just kind of not the background of Dale Carnegie, we'll get into that later, but just generally, what is it? Yeah,
Dale Carnegie, if you are unfamiliar, one way that people know of Dale Carnegie is the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
Solid book, released early 1900s. And is top 15 right now in downloaded books. Think about,
120 years.
I know, isn't that crazy? Like it's really tried and true. And the reason why it's been so popular is it talks about human behavior and attitude and confidence. And that's really what I do in my day to day is I work for a company that other organizations and companies and individuals come to us to train them and their people on confidence, communication, people skills, leadership skills,
Yeah.
managing stress and worry. That's been a hot topic ever since COVID, man. Everybody's got stress and everybody's worried about everything. We got elections coming up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that we need to manage the stress and worry on, though.
Yeah, I mean, so Dale Carnegie is kind of like an outside consulting firm, although it can be hired by individuals. But
Yeah.
the bulk of the business that's coming in is from corporations,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, where the money is where the corporations are. There's obviously some individuals that either need it or want it and really like this type of training. And that's the best part is you get a slew of different people in a class and everybody takes something away.
Even the people that come in kind of like, "Ugh, this is too soft for me." I'm sure that's probably your favorite part.
Those, I love them, man. When we get challenged as trainers, it's an opportunity, right? Because what we always say is we appreciate them because they're confident enough to share what they
How they're
are
actually feeling.
Exactly, right? Everybody else might be thinking the same thing, but they're not confident enough to tell us and to be that devil's advocate in the room. But that gives us an opportunity to just really dig in deep and go in depth into why this is tried and true and why it works. And that's what, as we get into the podcast, what a lot of this is going to be about is just what is the methodology of Dale Carnegie? What are some things and tools that people can take away from this podcast that they can start using immediately and how it can really benefit them? And that's really why I'm looking forward to being on this podcast with you, Kirk.
Yeah, I think there are probably people watching and listening right now that are doing the same thing in their car, like, this is too soft, whatever. But, but at the same time, it takes, there's so many different personalities present in the world, but therefore also in the workplace.
Yeah.
And I've had some leadership training back in my career too, where, we learned that you can't be a good leader until you're a good person, kind of, or like it's going to, eventually you're going to be exposed when you're an asshole.
Absolutely. We use the analogy where, if you've ever been on a plane, I know you went to Turkey, right? Let's say a scary situation, but the plane starts to get some turbulence, the oxygen masks come down, right? What do they always tell you to do with the oxygen mask before you help anybody else?
Make sure it's flowing to you first.
Because you can't do anything if you're already flustered. And think about it in terms of stress and worry. If you are stressed about something in your home life, that's affecting your work life, your relationships, and vice versa. So you need to make sure that you're taking the time to check in with your mental health and really give yourself stacking the deck so that you can be who you need to be in every certain situation. So
yeah,
that's cool, man. I really like my job.
It's not, I imagine you have to be in the minority of people that kind of knew this is where they wanted to land, even from like the sophomore year of high school, right?
Yeah, man.
I feel like that's not a common thing to be interested in. First off, Troy Avondale. I mean, obviously it's a nice school because they even offered such a thing.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a common curriculum in a public high school.
No, I mean it took like student council to a whole nother level. Right?
Yeah.
We were having conversations, really deep conversations in high school about. Oh man, just I'll bring up something real quick, but like suicide, and it was something that affected our community where a popular high school homecoming king committed suicide. And I remember the day after that happened, we all sat in the room for an entire hour and just talked about it. And that's not anything that any other kid got to experience. And what came out of that was conversations from people that didn't really understand what that could have been going through. And we had somebody in that class that was a star quarterback, that was the homecoming king, that stood up in frustration and said, no one understands. And at that point, obviously, it stuck out to me because that was the thing that like made me realize that no one can look at somebody else and say that, what they're feeling is not worth it.
You can't invalidate everyone else. Even people that come from a great privilege.
Yeah.
It's like maybe in your compared on an absolute basis compared to what you're struggling with, maybe it seems like their struggles aren't the same, but it's all relative too.
Yeah.
You know, so,
yeah.
and it's all inside and it's emotional. And like, if anything, the people of privilege might have even more issues with that, to be honest.
That's the hard thing though, is like you don't know until you ask. And
Yeah.
I'm in the business of asking. I'm in the business of figuring out what people need and helping them develop the skills so that they can take charge of their life and not let things get to them.
Give us
So
some coping mechanisms.
yeah. The biggest thing that I kind of look at, and it's one of Dale Carnegie's principles. People do this. I'll take a second back real quick, just because what I always say is in Dale Carnegie, we teach a lot of things that are common sense, but not common practice.
Yeah,
Right.
Like, it all makes sense. It's intuitive, but no
Yeah.
one's really doing it.
Well, one of Dale Carnegie's principles outside of stress and worry is smile, right? Think about how simple it is to smile. And
Right.
what a smile does. If I start smiling and I'm
Contagious.
chipper and happy, it's contagious, right?
Yeah.
So you're constantly putting out this positive energy, and then you look at that, what that can do for your relationships. And if you're a manager, or think of a parent, right? Even if a friend that you need to be there for, a smile does so much, and that's why it is hit on. So for stress and worry, one thing that people do, that is documented and proven, is keep busy. As simple as that is, find something that you can put your time and energy into.
Yeah. So you're not sitting around stewing and ruminating.
Oh my gosh, there's they talk about. I listened to a philosopher, Alan Watts.
Oh yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and one thing that he talks about is insomnia, and he goes, you are worried about something, so you don't sleep, and then you're worried that you're not sleeping,
So you don't
so
sleep.
you're worried about worrying, and it's this cycle that you don't break out of. And one thing that we teach is have like a notepad next to your bed, right? Write out those things that are worrying you. And as you're writing them out, they might be like, okay, I really need to worry about that. I really need to take care of this. Or maybe you write it out and it's
trivial.
not something you need to, it's not something you need to worry about. And that's really kind of putting that out there of how to deal with stress and worry.
Yeah.
Another thing coming out of COVID is, yeah, there you go.
I'm running out of paper. Oh no.
That's it. Yeah,
I'm
the
gonna need another
little
notebook.
finger knife. No, coming out of COVID, people have been isolated for so long, and people need people. Actually, another thing that we talk about, man, is the number one. I'll do a pop quiz for you here, Kirk. What is the number one form of punishment in human history?
Solitary confinement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Isolation.
Yeah.
Right.
So inhumane. I can't even believe that we do it.
Yeah. Well,
It makes people crazy. It literally makes people insane.
We need people.
Yeah.
We need people, right? You look at a lot of things that are coming out recently, and I'll jump into this real quick, but there was a school shooting that happened a couple weeks ago, and it's sad to say that there's so many that you can't pick one out, but
Right.
a lot of these kids that are going through these things in life talk about, I never had friends, right? I never had a meaningful relationship, right? Maybe their parents weren't there for them, right?
Yeah.
There's things that are happening coming out of COVID and have been happening for years that you look at and you say, why is this happening? And I truly believe a lot of it is isolation and not giving the kids tools to succeed and expecting them to just keep up in the rat race. And when one falls off, we say, oh, that's an anomaly.
Yeah.
When everybody's dealing with mental health.
Yes.
It's scary, man.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm an extremely extroverted person, so it was probably beneficial for me to have some isolation though, because that's kind of what forced me to start this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like Jess and I have a great relationship, but there's times where you just kind of need to mix it up too, and just get different perspectives and all that. So, yeah, I have somebody close to me that he's a young person, and he started getting suicidal ideation and stuff, and it was smack dab in the middle of COVID. And
oh man,
it's kind of, there's an anxiety there, and if you're anxious, you're not able to get it out and you socialize it. I can see how it can happen, and like, he's a kid that's happy, he's a happy kid, and it came out of nowhere, and it's fine good now, but it's like,
oh man,
it's just,
I saw a video recently about oh man, we're getting real deep and sad in this right now, but it was the last videos of people that had committed suicide, and the point of it was showing that suicide can look like anything, right? Mental health can look like anything. And it's frustrating being somebody that has dealt with mental health and is, pushed out of it and constantly fighting the battle, where I look at people that are struggling, and my heart goes out to them because there's so much out there. There's so much life. There's so much happiness and so much joy and love. And we just need to be that person to initiate that for somebody else.
Yeah.
That's what I think the meaning of life is. Just have fun and help people.
Yeah, you're right. And sometimes though it's hard to get. I've been there a little bit, you know, not to a great degree, but I've been there a little bit, and it's like sometimes you don't want to be reached out to, and sometimes people push so hard that it makes you feel even worse about you not being available, really.
Oh,
You know, so like, having gone through stuff like this? I mean, what if you're the friend? How hard do you push? You know, I mean,
so the easy thing is it depends on your relationship, right? If it is, let's say, like a brother or a family member, somebody you've known for a long time, best friend, right?
Someone that you can tell anything to.
You have a little bit more leeway in how much you push, how much you back up. One thing that I just would love to say is that you can push in ways that don't feel like pushing. And it's like, hey, I cooked too much food tonight. Do you want me to drop by and give you some, you know, like I got extra chicken?
Yeah, I have an excuse to swing through or something.
Yeah, right. And it's just checking out, you know, checking up on your friends. And it's just making sure that you're available for them to talk. And the other thing that is really important is that should anything bad happen, it is not on you. And that's another thing that comes in with mental health is it transcends and it goes from one person to the next person, because we all deal with these thoughts. We all deal with anxiety. There's not one person that is like perfectly stress-free and just happy and go lucky, and that doesn't happen. It's human behavior. So I think the easiest thing that I could say is just find ways to be there for somebody without making it obvious is the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Absolutely.
Folks, these are gems. These are gems. This is off the Dale, probably off the Dale Carnegie.
Oh, man.
Outside the Dale Carnegie script, although it's all related, right? I mean,
yeah, man. Yeah.
So you're basically a trainer.
Yes.
I mean, is that what your job title is?
Yeah, so I'm a performance consultant and trainer. So I consult people on their performance. I talk to them about how they're doing in their job, how they could be more efficient as managers, as employees, how they could take the next step to become management.
And you do that through observation? Without, like, do you watch them performing their job when you're just a fly in the wall, or how does that actually work?
I don't have time to sit there and watch people. It usually just takes a 30-minute conversation to figure out which one of what Dale Carnegie found, the 5 drivers, and I'll say them off one more time. And for the people at home, this is kind of how you can remind yourself of what they are. The number one determinant for success in people's lives is their confidence. And we remember that by the thumbs up. When you give somebody the thumbs up, that is, hey, you know what? I'm doing good. I'm confident, right?
Yeah.
The second thing is the pointer finger. You typically use that finger to point at people, right? Or just things or in general, but we use that to remind us of people skills. So being friendly, right? You walk up to somebody, you're extroverted, you're complimenting them, you are just a good person to be around, right? The next one, a lot of people, I'm not going to flip that one up, but it's a form of communication.
Or when you're a little kid, you used to like,
you're like, oh,
I didn't, Mom. No, I wasn't.
No, yeah. You do it to your brother or something.
Yeah. So what is the middle one?
Middle finger is communication, being clear and concise. Do people understand what you're saying when you say things to them, right? The ring finger, typically known as like a commitment, right? When 2 people get married, they are leaders for each other. And we remember leadership as that. So how I like to remember leadership is being able to inspire, motivate people to get to a desired result, right? Once again, everybody needs everybody, right? We all need people, and the ability to motivate, inspire is integral to success at any level. And the last thing is the pinky, and I love explaining this one because the pinky, if there was one finger,
it's a worthless appendage.
Exactly. If there's one finger that you could like cut off, it's like, okay, I can get rid of the pinky, right?
Of
course. We always joke that, like, you know, there's no you don't really think about your pinky until it gets slammed in the door, and that's always the one that gets slammed in the door.
It's just there to remind you that you're not as good as you thought you think you were.
Yeah, right. You're like, God. It's like the Achilles heel of everybody is the pinky, right? So that one is stress and worry. And the thing that we talk about is when you have your confidence high and your stress and worry is typically low when your confidence is high. Well, when that's flipped, your stress and worry is really high, your confidence down in the dumps, man. And that's where people struggle. And I'm keep bringing up COVID, but coming out of COVID, a lot of that flipped for people, right? A lot of people that were feeling good in a routine, had good habits, got that taken away from them. And it's my job to get them back on track.
Yeah, flip it back around.
Flip it back around, baby. Hang loose.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like I have confidence, but I also feel like I have stress and worry too.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm feeling less confident, I almost feel like I'm less stressed and worried though too.
Interesting.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like people have to understand, I'm not trying to teach you guys. You should be listening to this guy. You should be listening to Garrett, but we have to always have to remember there's a duality of all this stuff. Always. And it's like, even when you see the most confident person, don't think that they're not struggling and don't think that they're not worried.
Yeah.
They just found a way around it.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's practice and, you know, what is the term? Fake it till you make it vibe or something, but that's kind of effective.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean go buy a Ferrari before you're rich, but you can, you know, walk around and hold your head high too, though.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. I mean, one thing we talk about in Dale Carnegie is enthusiasm, and not just enthusiasm for the things that you love to do, right? Some people, like for me, I feel very confident in front of a camera, in front of an audience. Yeah. Other people would be like crap in their pants. They are like, this is the worst thing in the world. So I might come off as confident, but I'm also dealing with anxiety, like you're saying, in the background too.
Right.
So when we talk about enthusiasm, kind of just like the fake it till you make it, we say if you act enthusiastic, you'll be enthusiastic. And things like answering emails, waking up in the morning, doing the dishes, working out, all of these things that are mundane tasks that people just have to do. A lot of times we don't do it because they're not fun. They're not something that we want to do.
But then they get stressed. You get stressed from that, though.
And it builds up. It does. Yeah. It's terrible, man. It's this cycle.
My professional experience of that is like expense reporting.
Oh.
I hate expense reporting. And my job, at times, I'd be traveling the whole month or something. And I can't tell you how many times it took an email from the accounting team that said, hey, you're 3 months late, you better do this. And I would do it, and it wouldn't even take that long. And by the way, it takes a lot less time when you do it right away too than when you do it 3 months later. But even still, I'd get it done, and I'd always say, I can't believe how much burden I was carrying around because I didn't get that done, and now it's done, and look at, I'm free.
You're calling me out right now. I'm literally waiting on an expense report. Like, I haven't done it. I'm procrastinating an expense report as we speak. Yeah.
I bet you that 80% of people listening that are in jobs that require expense reporting, they're behind too.
This is your reminder. Do your expense reports.
Yeah. Don't make me get Pam from accounting to get a hold of you. But yeah, I mean, so give an example of a really nice, a hard client, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need a name, or, you know, if you can get the name and a picture, that'd be worth it. No, but you know, just share.
Blast it all on social media. Shame them into changing their life.
Tell me about that person.
Yeah.
How were they coming into a session, and then how were they at the end of a cycle? How long are these cycles? Like
about 12 weeks. So
12 weeks, once a week?
Yeah, once a week, every week, for 12 weeks. And I'll go into the science behind that real quick. Another pop quiz for you. How long does it take for somebody to create a habit?
I think I've heard this.
Yeah,
10,000 hours or something?
It's 21 to 30 days. I'm not sure.
Oh, 21 to 30 days.
It could be around there. I'm not sure, but 21 to 30 days to create a habit. So a lot of people will like read books or go to like a Tony Robbins seminar or do something and be like, wow, I learned everything and this changed my life. And then like a week later, they're back doing the same stuff that they were frustrated in doing in the first place, right?
Right.
So we like to spread it out because we are in the business of transformation. We don't want you to just take a course, feel good about it, get that church high, go back, and then go back, right?
Yeah.
We want you to have intentional time applying the tools so that when you are out of the class, 12 weeks have passed, you're naturally in that habit of appreciating people, of smiling, right? All these things that we talk about, you are consistently applying them throughout the 12 weeks so that it is just natural at the end. So you asked me the person that is like hard, right? I would say there's a couple different types of people that you see in a class, right? I'll just kind of say it in general because
broad strokes,
different people have different things. So
I'll be right back. Keep going.
There are like the person that comes in and is very shy, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to talk. They don't want to participate. They are just there to check the box and go home, right? That person is, for me, I would say the hardest, because in order to make a change in your life, you have to have the attitude to change your life. You have to have the buy-in of, this is going to be worth my time.
Yeah.
So for me, you recognize those people right away. And it's intentional on a trainer's part to welcome them in, give them opportunities for a low barrier of participation, right? Like the very first couple sessions that you do, you literally work on how to say your name, how to remember somebody's name, how to have a conversation. It's very low barrier, so that as people are getting into the rhythm of what a Dale Carnegie course is, they have already gotten experience standing up, sharing their name, talking about
Stuff that
themselves.
that doesn't stress them out. They know their name.
They know their name. They can talk about their name, right?
You're right.
Or we do little things like that. So that's one type of person, the shy person that doesn't really want to participate. I typically I like working with them. Those are the ones that I really need to focus on to give them the growth that they need, or the manager needs in them.
Right.
The person that we brought up earlier, the person that is constantly challenging everything, I love those people. Like I said,
You got the answers too.
I love them. I love them. I love them.
Yeah.
We are always looking for people that are movers and shakers. We have people that are entry-level employees in there with CEO level. So everybody's thinking at a different level and challenging each other on what it means to be an employee, what it means to be a CEO, and what this person has to think about and how it relates to this person in a completely different industry. But typically those higher level participants are the ones that are really engaged, and they're not challenging just to be the stickler saying, aha, but this didn't work.
They might just want to know something they can't get their head around.
Yeah. And so it's very genuine, their challenge. And I would say that is a challenge for some trainers to be challenged.
Right.
I love it. I just think it's so fun.
Yeah.
We have times in class where we put aside for debrief, right? 5-10 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
I love going 15-20 minutes. If it means that they're getting good information out of it, beautiful. If we're just kind of shooting the shit and talking around it, then probably not a good use of the time.
Yeah.
But it's always fun to like get deep and get deeper and really push into why this is important that we do ABC, right?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So give me some examples, some transformations.
Oh, okay. So
and I think be explicit with the aha moment too. You know what I mean?
Easy. This is I shared actually on a recent podcast that I did.
Oh, geez.
I'm sorry. I don't even want to say it, but Talking the Attic is my main podcast group. I'll say that. But this really is the one that stands out, right? This shows you what Dale Carnegie can do. Because I say words like confidence, I say words like people skills, leadership, and they're all buzzwords, right? They mean something to somebody, but really what we're looking for is how somebody can change your life. For example, there was a class a couple years ago. I've been working there for about 3 years now, where we
the same company, the new group of people every 12 weeks.
Every 12 weeks, we have new people come in. We have another course coming up in January, February time. So there will always be a course available in Grand Rapids, Lansing, Kalamazoo, all the places around Michigan here. But we had a gentleman that was 82 years old in the class. Think about just, first off,
still wanting to change at that age. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
He was not affiliated. He was retired, right? He was not affiliated with a company, spent his own money to go through the course. And we, on the very first day, we set a vision, right? Quick side note on this. If you ever want to accomplish anything in your entire life and everything that you have accomplished, you set a vision. You set what you want to accomplish so that you can check your progress on it, right?
Right.
He comes in first day and goes, hey guys, there's a little bit of a quieter guy, and didn't really, participate too much, still participate in what we needed him to, but his main goal was to tell his family that he loved them.
So he's kind of like from the old school generation that can't be very vocal with their feelings.
Put your head down, do your work, provide for your family, go home, do it again tomorrow, right? 82 years old. He went through 12 weeks of Dale Carnegie. Now, at the end of our 12 weeks, or at our 12th week, we have what's called graduation. We invite people that have supported you to go throughout this process, right? A lot of people, it's their manager, supervisor, whatever.
Yeah.
Him, it was his wife, his daughter, and grandkids. He got an opportunity to get up there and talk in front of about 40 to 50 people in the room and individually appreciated and loved on his wife, had her sit down, brought up the daughter, loved, appreciated. You are a wonderful daughter, had her sit down. Grandkids come up. I am so excited for the life you're about to live. I love you so much.
Yeah.
All of this just emotion coming out of this man that has repressed it for
Ever.
81, 82 years. There was
pretty
not a
powerful.
dry eye in that room. Everybody was crying because of the power
Yeah.
in that moment that guy had the confidence to jump up and in front of everybody love on the people that loved him for all that time.
It's pretty cool. And what was some of the kids might have been like, well, where was this back when I needed it? Back when I was 16.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
No, but I think the moral there is better late than never.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is, once again, he wasn't affiliated with a company. He spent his money to give him the opportunity to develop that. We didn't tell him that he needed to love his kids and say that and all that stuff.
It was completely
He
self-started.
came in the first week with that in his mind, and to see that growth and see that development and see him build relationships through emotion with other people, that's amazing, man. I sit in class every single week, and there's takeaways and breakthroughs and things that happen in the course that unfortunately I can't go in depth into, but it is all about what you know as the life that you live right now. What are tools that can help you live the life that you want to live, not the life that you're currently living, right? So for some people, they come in, they just need confidence, right? They just need to figure out their self-worth, and that's what we focus in on, right?
Yeah. Is that a majority of the people you see?
I would say everybody needs to work on confidence. So yes, as a catch-all, confidence is something that we're constantly working on. I mentioned this earlier, but there's two things in life when somebody is doing something, right? There is the confidence to be able to do it, right? So I was sitting here playing a little bit of guitar here as we were kind of setting up.
Yeah.
We talked about it, and for me, as a middle school, early high school kid, I had the confidence to play guitar. Great. Okay, awesome. But the second thing is the knowledge of how to do it, which I did not have. So I had to lean into my brother, right?
Right.
But you look at what you've done, and if you're listening right now, think about anything that you've done, and it comes down to those two things. You had to have the belief that you could do it to start it in the first place, and then you had to know how to do it. And another popular saying that we have in Dale Carnegie, and this is popular in a lot of places, but practice makes what? Perfect. We switched that to practice makes permanent. So whatever you do, if I write and I hold a pen with only my middle finger and I'm doing like this, right? And I'm writing my name ever since I'm a kid. And all of a sudden, I get an opportunity to sign something great and everybody's watching me sign something. I'm going to look weird trying to do it, right?
But it might be a good signature, though.
It might be good, right? Because I've developed it, right?
Right.
But until I practice it in the perfect way, I will never be able to make it perfect. Give another example. There is a very popular old gymnast. I forget her name right now off the top of my head, but she was one of the only ones to get a perfect 10. In the sport of gymnastics in a competitive
Nadia
competition.
Comaneci?
Nadia Comaneci, thank you, yeah.
Yeah.
She got, Nadia Comaneci, a perfect 10 less than 5 times in her entire career or competing, right? Hundreds and thousands of competitions. 5 times, less than 5 times, she got a perfect 10.
She probably still thought in her head, like, I really could have done a little better on that.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at the bar that some people set for themselves, like they expect themselves to be perfect after a week of trying to do a podcast or make music. I'm currently making music right now and I am nowhere near perfect. But it's the confidence and knowing how to do it and having the humility to ask people, like I've asked you, on how do I go about this so that when I sit down and try it and practice it, I'm doing it in the best way possible.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can dovetail this into a message from Dale Carnegie. I'm sure you can, but I think a big part of what I've learned is, and this might even sound cliche these days. There's so many social media, like Instagram therapists out there saying shit like this, but it's kind of hollow from a lot of these people, in my opinion.
Yep.
But this idea that you have to ask for people, you have to ask stuff of people.
Yeah.
And it's not, they want, first off, people want to help people because if you ask them about something they're an expert in, I was more than happy to help you because first off, holy shit, someone's asking me about music production. I was just learning this myself. You know, so like there are people, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Worst case, they're going to say no or something. And then, okay, well, do you really need that person around anymore?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
or more likely they're going to do what they can. And if not, they're going to connect you to someone else that might. So
Precisely.
you have to ask, and you have to be willing to kind of look stupid by asking.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the questions you like, you know, one of your questions you asked me is like, kind of like, oh, duh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, who cares?
Yeah, doesn't
I don't
matter.
think less of you because you didn't know that. I had the same issue when I started too. It's like,
I'm going to bring it back to another guest that you had, a couple of guests that you had on a podcast. It was another training company.
oh yeah, Novus Global.
Novus Global. Yeah,
Yeah.
I listened to that actually. And one thing that they talked about that really stuck out to me was they said that they were helping this lady. I forget the full situation, but she wasn't getting paid enough. And basically they just said, have you asked for a raise? And she got like I forget the number, but like $30,000 extra, 20, whatever it was. And it was like, oh my God, like how many things are we not receiving in our lives?
But you've
Because
never
we're
asked.
not asking for it.
Yeah, dude, I
The
know.
power of the ask and having the confidence to look silly.
Yeah.
To be the weird person that is changing the norm of what things are typically done. That's the thing that initiates progress, right? You
Right,
know?
yeah.
And that's the cool thing about it, you know.
People, you're in a business. It's a business that's been founded on the idea that they have to make money.
Yeah.
That's what a business is. It's not out of what they're probably looking for in an employee to want more money.
Yeah.
You know, so like I used to have that. I used to challenge some things like that at my last company, and there were times where I'm like getting concerned about how they reviewed that. I'm like, I'm responsible for getting them every penny of a part that I can as a salesperson.
Yes.
Why wouldn't they? Should want me to be motivated by that to some
Precisely.
degree. And like, so you sometimes you have to think through these kind of things and really think about.
Yeah.
Are you just afraid?
Mhm.
I think at the end of the day, it's fear. It's fear more than anything, right? That's really
Exactly.
the only two. There's only two emotions out there, really,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Fear and love is that kind of the.
It's the typical balance, the angel and devil on your
Yeah,
shoulder,
those are the
right?
two
Yeah.
things. So like, start thinking through things, and basically, if you're watching and listening, tomorrow you have a task. Go demand a raise. I don't mean to ask.
Yeah, there you go.
And
We're
then-
getting our listeners paid, eh?
And then once you get that raise, don't be afraid to go to patreon.com/talkintheattic, where you can become a $20 a month member or even just a $5 a month member. It's the cost of a coffee, people. I'm asking. Come
Yeah,
on.
that's it.
Patreon.com/talkintheattic. You're getting all this free learning from Garrett. None of these profits I receive will be shared with Garrett.
Mhm.
He-
Wait a second. Oh man.
Unless he asks.
Yeah, unless I ask. That's it. Yeah. Oh man, I'm telling you, I look at there's points in our lives, right, where we look back and we say, man, that was like pivotal in my life. And for me, joining Dale Carnegie, because going back to me in high school, right, I asked people about what they want to do with their life, right? I acted like I had it all together.
Yeah.
Graduating college, zero idea. I went back and did recruiting because that was the first job
Available, yeah.
Exactly, right? I was like mental health terrible at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was a pivotal moment for me. I actually quit recruiting before I had an interview or knew anything about Dale Carnegie. I just knew that I couldn't do that for the rest of my life and I needed to find something else. And through me being a nice guy that likes to connect with people and everything like that, that's actually how I got this interview with Dale Carnegie, is through a friend of a friend that heard something and was like, wow, you sound just like my friend Garrett. You need to sit down and have coffee with him. And you look at like pivotal moments in your life.
Yeah, turning tipping points.
Yeah. And what brought you to that moment and what's changed after that, right? I think there's a lot of power in reflecting on your life. And I say reflecting intentionally because a lot of people look back on their life and they criticize it, right?
Criticize or pump it up, to inflate it like they were the star of something too. One of those two.
And
Yeah.
it's I'm
Neither
either
of
the
those.
best person in the entire world and I'm so great, or wow, I'm the worst person in the world and terrible, right? And
Right.
really it's the middle ground. I heard another thing really cool recently that a philosopher was talking about, where it's a lot of people think about their life as like they're born at a starting point, right? When they're born, it's a starting point and it's a guide to get back to, to find out who you are in your life, right? And this philosopher flipped it and he said, when you're born, you're the most true self that you are.
Yeah, completely virgin. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you are consistently going through life and being diverted and going farther and farther away from who you are. And really the point of life, or what we need to focus on, is getting back to the center of who you are. So you listen to, like, for me, Alan Watts, or like Buddhist, or, you know, even Christianity and all these different religions. It's all about internal, right? And finding out who you are, the inner peace and your inner motivation and all of these different things. It really just comes down to, who are you and what did you lose along the way? And how can you get that back?
Yeah.
Do you remember as a kid we were invincible? We needed no visuals, the castles were invisible. Remember when a scrape would make mama's kisses medicinal? When cops and criminals was just a game after middle school. Our stories were with dragons and princes that coexist, and a love life consisted of crushes from which we hid. Back when you had a text and got your friends to press send. Back when getting her number was the same as getting her name on AIM.
And we're back.
Hey-o.
Sometimes these things happen, right?
Hey.
As Dale Carnegie might say, I don't know.
All right.
What does he have? Does he have any quotes for, like, when
Yes.
you know, things happen that are unexpected? Or
Cooperate with the inevitable, and don't fuss about trifles. Trifles being small things, little things, you know?
Yeah. Well, in this case, my SD card was filled up onto my camera, so many of you probably didn't even see you saw a still image of my face for half of that last section. But we're back.
Hopefully it was a good pic, yeah?
Everything's ready to go. Yeah, exactly. Close up on this mustache.
Got all the angles.
Last time I saw you, you did not have such a. I think you were a baby face.
Yeah, I've been switching around. I kind of like the cycle of clean shaven in the summer, big beard in the winter, you know.
Yeah, classic.
Good. Yeah.
Especially in Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you did anything for Halloween, but I ended up dressing up as my girlfriend. So I had like a nice little skirt on with a full beard. Yeah,
did she dress up as you?
People on. No, she ended up she was a little sick, so she couldn't go. But I said Amy's still here. Amy could make it because I was dressed as Amy, so it was fun, man.
I went as Post Malone this year.
Oh, I saw that. That was sick.
It was funny, but it was fun. But like, I kind of underestimated the patience and the time commitment that would have been required to put like 100 tattoos on me.
The actual, yeah.
And people were starting to show up to the party we were at, and I was still in the kitchen like putting them on. I'm like,
oh
my
no!
God. But it was such a key part. It was like the whole costume was a tattoo.
You have to do it. That's face tattoos too, right?
Oh,
you got to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's funny.
Speaking of good people, man, Post Malone, you look at all these celebrities, and there's some that stick out as just good people.
My mom is going to love that you said that. Have I told you about my mom in Post Malone?
No, is she like a fangirl? Yeah?
She is a fangirl now, but I think she started listening to him like maybe 2018 or something.
Oh, wow, okay.
And she's in her 60s by then, you know?
Yeah.
And her favorite artists prior to that were Elton John and James Taylor and Carole King, all the people you'd expect in a woman in her 60s.
Yep.
No disrespect to any of those artists. They're all great. But suddenly she started loving Post Malone, which seemed like out of left field at the time.
Yeah.
And then we went to that show back in early October together. We sat right up front, and my brother and Jessica and my mom all went. And having seen him up close and watching the type of outreach he does afterwards, he hung around for 40 minutes after the show, and just like the show ended and he never left the stage. He just stayed out there. The lights came up and he socialized with all the fans.
Wow.
And we had made him a shirt. We got it to him. He took it with him. So like, it's so cool. That's an example of somebody that he just made 80 grand that night or something. Whatever he made at it by selling out Little Caesars.
Wow.
And so who cares if you really think about the amount of effort it takes to sit around and talk to people that love you? It's the easiest thing in the world to do, but yet nobody does it.
Yeah.
But to see him do that, and not only to be swallowed up in it myself, I'm like, I love this guy. I totally could relate to why my mom sees that in him. It's not a romantic thing, but she loves this guy.
Oh, I'm sure. Talent.
Like he would wait. He was like, there were multiple little satellite stages off of the main stage, and we were sitting towards the front, like the fifth row of the main stage.
Okay.
But when he was on these satellite stages, he was like 100 yards away from us, or 100 feet away from us.
Yeah.
And he would like wave to the crowd, and my mom would be like trying to catch his attention. I'm thinking like, She loves them. It's like Beatlemania, you know.
Oh my gosh, she pulls your mom up on stage, yeah,
Dude,
6-year-old woman rocking out.
I had a big a sign that said, "My 67-year-old mother is your biggest fan,"
Oh,
and
that's
with
so
an arrow.
cute.
And he kind of acknowledged it right when he first came out and pointed.
Yeah.
And then he was injured at the show we were at, because he had fallen down on stage earlier in the week, but. So he didn't do what he normally does, which is he brings someone up there and plays. So I was really, that was my, you talked
Your
about
moment.
vision. My vision was, I got to get my mom on stage tonight. I don't care if I have to get kicked out of here for holding up the sign. It didn't matter. If she gets on stage, that's all that matters.
Yeah, if you weren't sitting in the front row, you'd crowd surf her up.
whatever we had to do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure she would love it. That'd be so cool, man.
But yeah, he's a cool guy. There's a good, he's a very genuine, authentic guy. Even he's got the willingness and the balls to talk about things that don't necessarily make him look that good.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that people have to remember is, like, we're in this age of sugarcoating everything and only showing your perfect
image and Instagram, filtering everything.
I wrestle with that on this show a lot of times, where, like, I want to be more, sometimes I want to be even more honest and critical of myself on here, but then you also want it to be a positive experience for the listener.
Yeah.
But I try to balance that, like you gotta, it is, you want to be self-deprecating to some extent, but you can't be a Eeyore either.
Yeah, man, you can't sit there and just listen. Yeah, no one's going to listen to you for 60 minutes talking about how terrible your life is. Yeah.
Right. So.
Oh, man. Yeah. No, I in my line of work with Dale Carnegie, to bring it back to that, that's something that a lot of people do. It's this, like, self-deprecating humor that is when I grew up, and that I feel like it's just been around forever, and it's just the best way to, like, kind of bring down defenses of people around you. And you look at, like, what it takes to let me take, because everybody self-deprecates, it's humor, all that stuff, it's funny. And then the opposite of that, when you're finding things about other people that you want to appreciate and giving that intentional with evidence appreciation, like, what that does for somebody when you appreciate them, oh my God, like, you build trust, they feel happier, they're more confident. I always joke around that my shirts, and actually I complimented your shirt earlier.
Terry cloth, baby.
Terry cloth. Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I want to look that up later. I love that. I call it my towel shirt whenever I go out.
That's one way to put it too. Yeah.
And anytime that I get a compliment on that shirt or any garment of clothing, I always make the comment that you just made me want to wear this shirt a lot more often, right? I judge my clothing based off of the compliments that I receive, so it really does matter. If anybody's looking out there, please send a compliment on any clothing, and I'll wear it.
Well, I didn't say this before, but I do like your pants.
My pants, man, the maroon pants.
Yeah, I rock those sometimes too. That's what I wore for the Posty costume. Yeah, so you're giving me Posty vibes.
Oh man, in the first month of me working at Dale Carnegie, we do a lot of, like, outreach things. So we did a I don't know, in, like, middle school assembly type thing, right? Where we're teaching the kids stuff, but really it's fun, right? Have fun. And I remember it was like, I couldn't die, 200, 300 kids, right? All in these stands, 6th, 7th, 8th graders. And we're teaching them about confidence and all that stuff. And it's early on in my career for Dale Carnegie, so I'm trying to, like, impress my bosses and coworkers and stuff. And at one point, I had to slide across the gym floor like a penguin, right? So I'm, like, once again, trying to impress them. I'm, like, busting butt. I'm running, right? And I go and I do a belly flop dive. And as I belly flop dive, my pants rip, right?
It's like every kid's worst nightmare.
Exactly, right? And it's like, once again, first, month in the job, all that stuff.
You expose yourself to an auditorium full of middle schoolers.
Full of middle schoolers, right? Like, the immediate dread that went over my head, and I'm like, okay, show must go on, because, whatever, everybody knows it. All the kids are laughing, all that stuff. And then part of my job in that assembly was to sit in the crowd and make sure kids were listening and paying attention while I sit in the crowd. And every middle schooler wanted to be the first person to tell me that I ripped my pants. So every kid was, like, tapping me on the shoulder, be like, hey, you ripped your pants, sir. And in my head, I'm like, I know. You pay attention. Like, listening. What about this? What are they saying there? How cool is that? And, like, trying to divert the attention. But in the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? I ended up, that was my first, talking about expense report, that was my first reimbursement. They sent me
new pants,
$40, $50 for new pants with a little nice card.
Maybe get them a little bit bigger this time, buddy.
I know, right? Yeah, or don't do a penguin flop on the floor full on with, tons of minors looking at you.
The trick is Crisco. Just rub your pants. I used to never go to a work meeting without Crisco lathered all over my pants. 'Cause you never know when you're going to have to penguin dive.
Oh my gosh, man.
How does one even learn how to penguin dive?
I don't think I ever learned, and obviously I wasn't experienced with penguin diving.
Penguins don't wear pants, though.
That's true.
Their legs are so small.
Penguin, if anything, I would see him in like a tuxedo with the black and white, right?
Yeah, but it's only the top, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, down it's like the
naked.
mullet. Mullet is like party in the back, business
Yeah.
up front, right?
Yeah.
Penguins are like business up top, but they're partying down there. You ever seen Happy Feet? That's a partying penguin. Right
I actually
there.
haven't seen Happy Feet, but I have seen of my fair share of penguin content. I think I'm tapped out.
Tapped out of penguin content.
They're great. They're cool. But there's a South African town that every year this certain type of penguin goes and mates in this town.
What?
And the people just let it happen. Like it's very like.
Well, it's been happening for a long time,
yeah,
so it's
for a while
integrated to the culture. Like
well before humans were there, probably.
true.
Even.
Yeah.
And so it's a very good glimpse of coexistence with animals, but it's crazy. But that was like a 6-part documentary, so I'm like, do I really need 7.5 hours
All on penguins?
on penguin mating rituals?
Man, what's crazy to me is like there's jobs out there that's like I'm the penguin expert. Like I'm the specific bug in this region expert, and I can tell you all of the 30 species and all of the different history of it. And it's like, man, I never in high school got that on my career quiz. You know what I mean?
Never.
Like I think I got like trash, collector and like
And
post
Dale Carnegie trainer.
And yeah, apparently, I think I did get like a public speaker or something like that, and I just brushed it off. I wanted to be a life coach for a long time, and I still think that would be cool. But like I said, Dale Carnegie it's exactly what I want, man.
Yeah, I think Dale Carnegie. No offense to any life coaches listening out there, but it's just too broad.
Yeah.
And by the way, like you better have quite the life if you're going to be teaching me how to live mine. But you know what I'm saying? But like when you come at it from the Dale Carnegie methodology, and there are other examples like this, but there's a little bit more specificity to it.
Yeah.
Instead of like
I forget the sketch that just reminded me of, but it was like the depressed therapist.
Yeah.
It's like you get in there and you're talking about all your terrible issues, and then they try to console you on it. They're like, yeah, life is terrible, just get over it. It's like, come on, what am I paying you for?
But this is this is a question I actually had thought of today when I was thinking a little bit about what I want to ask you. Okay, you're a trainer for confidence and for public speaking and all of this. At times, you're not even there.
Always.
But
yeah.
but how do you address that without coming across as disingenuous or like you're speaking a game that you're not even behind, or do you just or is it hidden, or you know what I mean? Like how do you reconcile your own shortcomings with what you're trying to teach when they contradict each other, I guess?
Absolutely. That's a really good question, because like the immediate response is what I shared earlier of like, I really truly have been this purpose-driven type of person for a long time.
It's authentic for you.
It really is authentic. So I don't have an issue with the authenticity behind it. With the confidence, there's times when I'm in front of the room and I need to explain or debrief something, and I'm not confident in what I want everybody to get out of this or what is going to happen. And that's where the training comes in, obviously. But for me, I think it's the thing where if you address it in a very open way, and are humble about it, like, man,
I know.
I'm trying to think of an example.
There's an element of deprecation in there too.
Yeah.
It's more honest, but it's really just explaining to people that if I struggle with confidence too, and that little opening up that door a little bit probably lets them relax, which allows you to relax a little bit more too. Maybe
it's vulnerability.
Yeah,
vulnerability. You rarely see a leader that is consistently good that people want to follow that doesn't have the confidence to admit when they make a mistake. In fact, there's a lot of leaders that we think of, I'll just throw out every politician ever.
Yeah, they never admit it.
Yeah, they never admit it. I mean, heck, if you want to bring Kanye into this, I mean, and every other, big thing going on right now, Kyrie Irving, like a lot of these people are just not able to admit that they're wrong or start a discussion on the different things that need to happen for them to be right or wrong or grow in general. So when you look at the confidence that it takes to be vulnerable, I think that's a next level type of leader.
I agree. It's very effective too when you see that. Like it makes
genuine.
It makes you want to be more accountable as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's hard to follow somebody that's telling everyone that they have to be accountable when they're not taking any accountability.
Exactly. There's a lot of people that you look at in your life, And I think that is actually something, taking this into like family life and like parenting. Parents, when you grow up as a kid, you grow up, no matter if you had a good, bad, whatever childhood, you grow up thinking that your parents are the standard, right? Like,
Yes.
they are good, everything they believe, I believe. And
Yeah.
then as you get older, you start to kind of learn more. You look at their, their faults and their successes, and you start to build who you are out of what you grow through, right?
Yeah, and through counterexample and all of that.
Yeah.
As well, yeah.
I think it's really important for parents to be vulnerable. I say this a lot, but teach your kids how to think, not what to think, because that critical thinking skill is something that a lot of people need to develop in this day and age with all this misinformation and just accepting things at face value. But when you look at like vulnerability, when you see an article come through, and this is kind of vulnerable, but kind of like, a different topic here, but
Yeah.
when you see something, you accept that as the truth, right? And it's only when you dig deep and you go to Google Scholar and you read through all these articles that maybe you find out that the study that you based all of your beliefs off of maybe was a little bit skewed, right? And it takes like a long time to get to that point. So not many of us take the time to really look into all of the different things that got them to that conclusion, and we just accept it at face value. I don't know if you
It's
go
easier.
Yeah, it's easier. I don't know if you go on Reddit at all.
Yeah, of course.
But on Reddit, there's a common thing of people commenting before they even read the article. It happens a lot on like Onion, right? The Onion, right?
Yeah,
The
people are like,
Onion.
oh, this is fake.
Yeah, and it's like, what the heck? If you took the 30 seconds to read more than the title, you would understand the meaning behind what the article meant. But it gets shared, and these hot topics get just spread around so much. Obviously today is the day where everybody's voting, right?
Yeah,
For
about 12% of the population, but yeah.
Yeah, very true. Yeah. Which I truly hope is more. I have an uncle that it works the polls, and I had an opportunity to talk with him just about how it actually goes in the polls and how there are so many rules, and it's very strict to make sure that there is zero voter fraud.
Which is all the more amazing that they were able to steal the election in 2020. I'm joking. I'm joking. But if you're saying, if you're out there spouting about that, shut the fuck up. It's wrong and it's dangerous and it's destabilizing. Shut up. And it's not true.
It's destabilizing. I think I really like that word because it takes away democracy.
It's the most dangerous shit you could possibly do.
Yeah.
I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I truly don't. Yeah. But don't support nonsense like that.
The divisiveness that happens when misinformation circulates.
Yeah, it ruins people's confidence in the system.
That's the problem. And then people don't vote, people don't share their opinion, and whether you're right, left, Republican, Democrat, whatever it is, your voice isn't being heard because of the trap that's been set. Now, there's a lot of conspiracies, and there's things that make sense and things that don't make sense. And I think the thing when you look at politics nowadays is the one thing that I think is very true is that there is not right and left. There's the high and the low, the rich and the not rich. And I really, truly think that is the number one issue in politics in the U.S. in all of these things that spread out to all of the different ways that we feel oppressed can all come back to we really are being oppressed, and we're fit in this cycle. There's another thing that they talk about. The number one way to oppress somebody is to make them feel that they have a choice, that they have freedom in that being oppressed and not being oppressed, right?
Right.
And if you give the other person the false option of choice, and really either choice is negative, people are just going to bicker about the shit that goes on left, right, Republican, Democrat, and not really think about the next level stuff that's really going on.
What the real dynamic is. Yeah, it's all distractions, dude. All these.
Oh my gosh, man!
It's so crazy that it makes you want to not participate, but then they win, kind of thing. Yeah, that's my perspective on. Like, I didn't want to go vote today because I think it's nonsensical. Yeah, all the stuff that we're even talking about. Yeah, but you have to.
Yeah, you have to. Oh, but that's the thing. And then there's like, how do you actually make change? And looking back at how, once again, we talk about pivotal moments, right? MLK, Malcolm X, right? Yeah. A lot of people give MLK a lot of like the praise. Malcolm X showed that okay, so Malcolm X was more of the aggressor, right? He was the guy that was
More militant, yeah.
militant, yeah, is a great word to use. And people give the peaceful protest the high pedestal, right? What I learned recently is that peaceful protests do not work unless there is a known threat. And that sounds worse, but if they know that you can take action
Yeah.
and actually mess people up and like riot and all that stuff, and then choose to be peaceful, that has a lot more impact than just saying, hey, let's just be peaceful and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
and I think that those two kind of go together. When you look at a lot of things that are happening recently, there's the agitators and then there's the peaceful protests and all these different things.
Yeah,
going on.
they need each other.
And they're divisive though.
Yeah.
They're all on left and right and all this stuff, and there's no centralized thing. One thing that we do teach in Dale Carnegie, which if there is one thing that you should take away in general from any Dale Carnegie course or even right now, it is a tool called disagree agreeably. Disagree agreeably is where when we have a conversation, right, we disagree on cats or dogs, right?
Dogs, clearly. But
You like dogs. Beautiful. Let's put it this way, right? So you love dogs. I come up to you. I haven't really met you. We haven't built a trust and relationship, right, to go back and forth. I come up to you and I say, you know what, Kirk, I hate dogs. What's your first reaction?
well, have you been around a cool dog?
Yeah. Or like, screw you, man.
Yeah, or fuck
like,
you.
you know,
That's
like,
what- I mean,
have you been around a cool dog? Maybe, you know, you went to like the nicer like thing, but in the
I was
back
trying
of your
to
head,
disagree agreeably though.
and in the back of your head though, or like people that really love dogs, they're gonna be like, screw you, man. Like,
Yeah.
I have 8 dogs and I love all my dogs, right? And so
Them's fighting words. As
yeah,
you say.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? And the point is though, you won't listen to any reasoning why I don't like dogs because you've already made up your mind. There's a statistic where people judge us in 3 to 7 seconds. In fact, we judge everybody in 3 to 7 seconds. How much do you actually know about somebody in 3 to 7 seconds?
Yeah. Yeah.
Zip. So when I say something as controversial as I hate dogs, you immediately shut it off, right? If it's a higher thing like abortion or something like that, if I come up and I say I love abortion and you're somebody that doesn't want
Yeah, it's
abortion,
over
you're
for
immediately
us.
not going to listen to me. So
Right.
in that same example with the dog, right? So if I start off with my opinion, you don't listen to my facts. But if I start out with my facts or my evidence, you're forced to listen to my opinion. Try this out now, right? Kirk, when I was younger, I was so excited to hang out with my friend Ben. I went over to his house. I knocked on the door. He was probably in the basement or something. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go in. So I opened up the door. Must have spooked the dog. Dog came over and bit me in the arm.
Yeah. Is this true?
That's why. No, it isn't.
Okay.
But that's why I don't like dogs.
Very convincing.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
No, yeah, of course.
You're like,
It's like,
okay, you know what?
oh.
Maybe I disagree with you. I still like dogs, but I see your point of view.
Yeah.
Right? So the main point of disagree agreeably is making sure that the other person feels validated. One, a lot of times we don't validate the other person before we jump in with what we think. So giving them oh, I see where you're coming from. Oh, interesting, right? Great point of view. Something like that to let them know that you understand.
Right.
Avoid using but, however, nevertheless, because that gets rid of all of the positive things you just said.
But yeah.
Yeah, oh, it's a very interesting perspective, but, you know, dogs suck, right? You know what I mean? Like, you're like,
That's
okay,
sad.
screw you, man. But you got to start out with fact, right? When
Yeah.
you look at all of these topics that are hot topics right now, COVID, masks, abortion, religion, all
Yeah.
that stuff, racism, you need to start out with facts and back it up to opinion, right?
Yeah.
There was a debate with Donald Trump and all of these, you know, talking heads and all these things, and there was zero fact and all opinion. And that was so frustrating to watch because a lot of people left watching that saying, what did I learn? I didn't learn anything about where they
these
stand.
guys are all morons. But yeah. Yeah.
And there was no actual discussion about how America can be better, right? And
Right.
how all of this stuff. So when you look at like Thanksgiving coming up, right? Thanksgiving's coming up. Everybody's had a situation where maybe they had a topic come up in Thanksgiving dinner where grandma's getting mad at you or something, or
Yeah.
mom and dad, whatever, right?
Drunk uncle.
Right, drunk uncle, all that stuff, right? Try that out. Try the process of stating a fact and backing it up with an opinion and see how that changes the conversation. I can promise you, because it's tried and true, that you'll have a much more productive conversation than if you were to go at each other's throats with your opinion and you're wrong and telling somebody that they're an idiot for believing the way that they do.
Yeah. It's fruitless.
Regardless, I'm going to keep going on a quick tangent here. Regardless of if you're Republican or Democrat, one thing that we all need to understand is that we need each other.
Right.
If you as a Republican or me as a Republican and you as a Democrat, whatever,
Yeah.
are not able to have a good conversation, a productive conversation, we are losing, regardless of our beliefs.
Absolutely. Preach. And then remember, when in doubt, penguin slide.
Penguin slide, rip your pants, get reimbursed, do your expense reports.
Nothing really, I mean, nothing really opens up a conversation like a good rip penguin slide.
Pant rip. I felt like SpongeBob, you know?
Okay, so we kind of discussed where you came from. We discussed where you're at now.
Yep. Yeah.
What's in the future here? Like, where do you see?
Man, I
Other than being on the top of the charts in the hip hop game.
That honestly is probably how I would answer that.
Yeah.
I have been so focused on helping other people find their passion and fulfill their purpose that recently, in the past couple of years, I realized that I haven't taken the time to follow my passions and what I want to do. I
Right.
love poetry. I'm really good at poetry, and I've always had a little rhythmic tune to it. That's where I had the confidence to ask you, like, hey, let's make some music. And you took me up on it and we started developing it. For me, music and music production and poetry is not something that I want to become known for, like famous Post Malone type vibes, right? It would be cool to have a 67-year-old super fan, but
of course, well, you can get that without.
Yeah.
He's gonna hang out in the right places.
But I think that my purpose with my talent of music or poetry and really where I want to see that go is my creative expression of a lot of things that I believe. So in the song The Box, that was actually the first song that I ever, or first anything that I wrote from my perspective of what I had anxiety about and worries about of my parents not being there my entire life, right? And losing people that I love and care about.
One day my dad will die, my mama close behind. My older brother means the most, our lives are intertwined.
So it's almost like a therapy for me.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that that's really important for people to have. There's three things that everybody should have, three activities. One is something that can keep up your health, right? So a lot of people maybe like walk dogs or play sports or whatever, but that's something that you need.
Like a physical outlet.
Physical outlet, right? A creative outlet. So for me, poetry or rapping or whatever. And then one that can make you money, right? And that typically turns into a career or a job, right?
Yeah.
But those three things is what I forget whoever said this, but that's what you need to be fulfilled in your life is basically what they said, to take care of the main things: mental health with the creative, physical health with the athletic, whatever,
and then financial security.
Financial security. And once you have all three of those and you can consistently have a habit of doing them, you're going to be much, much happier in your life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was it Dale Carnegie that said you spend the first third of your life learning, your second third of your life making money, and your the third of your life spending your money?
I don't know if it's Dale Carnegie, but
it might have been Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's a Carnegie.
One of the Carnegies. Yeah,
one of the Carnegies.
It might be Dale Carnegie.
It seems like something
I feel like, yeah, absolutely, man. There's a lot of things that you look at in life, and it really just boils down to do what makes you happy. You know, you've heard the thing, find what makes you happy and let it kill you. I stand by that, man.
Unless it's like opiates or something.
Okay, very true. Yeah. Do something productive that you love and then let it kill you. Yeah. That's very true. Yeah. We'll watch out on that one there. Oh my God.
No, I mean, I feel like, you're very skilled at. First off, the way that Garrett and I met is through a professional networking group. What is the name of the professional networking group?
Yeah, it's Professionals of Grand Rapids. A quick plug on there.
Yeah,
we have an opportunity coming up in Grand Rapids. We're going to be hosting a soiree/gala, partnered with Special Olympics at Frederick Meyer Gardens. So
when is that?
That is coming up in January, like mid-January. I need to figure out the dates. We're looking at.
Go to the show notes. You'll see a link and all that information as well.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so what's the purpose of that group? And if there's other people in there from Dale Carnegie, right?
Yes. So our soon-to-be president is a friend of mine that I have known for years and got him into Dale Carnegie. He is now taking over, starting the new year as the president and
of the networking group.
Yes, and so the reason why we started this networking group was because there's a lot of people our age, young, not 40 plus, but 40 under, that like still need business connections, want that like actual business and money making kind of connections and all the, I don't know if money making is the right word, but business connections, right?
Yeah.
I went to a couple different networking events and I found that it was a lot of like clicks, and I didn't really like that because I'm somebody just like
Open,
you.
yeah.
I want to talk to everybody. I want to meet you and I want to figure out, all this stuff and connect with you. And so when we started this, that was the kind of idea, is that no one leaves our event without having at least one connection, right? So that you have a productive time while you're there. You have fun, free food, or I think it's like $10 a ticket for our normal events, and you get free food, free,
it's cool.
beer and all that stuff, and games and networking and all that stuff. So
and you also give a little bit of Dale Carnegie training in there, like a little snippet.
Yeah, a little snippet, man. When I was looking at what can I provide to this group, it's training and development. That's just, like I said, my blood, what I love to do.
That's your wheelhouse.
Yeah. And I can talk to people and I can teach them how to network and be effective at it. And so for this gala, for this soiree coming up, that I think is going to be something that we're looking for. There's going to be potentially 100 to 150. Because we're doing Frederick Meyer Garden, we got to fill the thing. And
definitely,
my hope is that we have a segment where I can get up and train Dale Carnegie to that amount of people, so that we have a solid connection of people at every level of a business actually leaving with business cards and connections and getting coffee later. And that's the whole goal of networking in the first place.
Yeah, they're not just to make awkward conversation with people you're never going to talk to again.
Eat appetizers that are too cold, right? Like come on, man. I want to have a good time. I want to meet people that are like-minded, and I've been blessed enough to meet people like that, like you in my life, that have that same drive, that want to meet other people, and that's the best part.
Let's go back to when we first met. So we got involved, and we're still somewhat involved. I guess we got to get back into it, but we got brought in by another person on the board at the networking group, and we met, I think, one time like in a meeting room type environment, which isn't the most the most representative of ourselves, because we're kind of like in a meeting,
Yeah.
But then the next time we went was an actual event, and right when we got there, you said, "Hey, you mentioned you're getting into music production. I want to talk to you."
Yeah.
And I was thinking, in my head, I'm thinking like, okay, he's probably like a psychedelic acoustic or like a psychedelic electric guitar vibe.
Yep.
Not that.
No, it
not
doesn't
because
matter.
you look like you were on psychedelics, but just because like that's kind of the vibe I was getting from you, which is really just me prejudging. It was me prejudging, honestly.
3 to 7 seconds.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And so you wouldn't believe my surprise when this guy comes up and he says, "I like to rap. I've never actually recorded myself rapping, but I've done a lot of poetry, and I want to rap." And within I think a couple of weeks, you're up here. And that's how our friendship started. So there's a lot of the stuff we talked about in this conversation that led to that. You having the confidence to say that to me without caring at what I thought.
Yeah.
Me having the confidence to tell you guys that I was working on that, even though I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
And then
the actual connection, and us just being friendly, using people skills to just be like, hey, we're both kind of new at this, but we both want to do it, so let's try it. Yeah.
And by the way, there's no better way to learn than when you're using other people who are also learning. Mm-hmm. I can't bring up a grizzled old musician up here and waste his time while I'm fucking around or fumbling around on the computer.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're trying to figure things out and I'm trying to figure out, we can grow together, and that's fun.
Absolutely.
And it's I always look at like sports. I used to be really into sports. Now I'm kind of more peripherally into it. But like, I have to believe it's more fun to coach college kids than it is pros.
Oh man, yeah.
Just Jim Harbaugh recently, I saw an interview with him, and they said, "Well, you seem to have been re-energized by this, by coming to the college game again." He said, "Well, you're putting me on the spot here, but I guess I like it a lot more because I'm just around a bunch of people that just have kid problems."
Yeah.
That's
so funny.
It's fun to be around people who are still excited to learn, and it's not a job anymore or whatever. So like, if you're interested and you're watching this and you have some sort of hidden talent you're trying to explore, there's no better place to explore it than the attic. You don't get unbridled access to whenever you want, but Garrett can call me in within a day or two. He's up here.
Oh no! I just gotta appreciate you real quick, just because. First off, if you don't have a full-on 360 of the attic, the attic space has changed even from when I first came up here. It is constantly growing. They just put in a pool table downstairs, so the entire house is growing with all of these fun, cool games.
Yeah, that's supposed to inspire creativity.
I love it.
Me and you are already open, but if this would have been our first time and you were coming up here for an interview, I would have offered, hey, you want to shoot some pool?
Yeah,
we got these wireless mics now. We could get some pool conversation.
Get the balls clacking together. Yeah, some background.
Yeah, exactly. Then maybe make a beat all about billiards.
Yeah,
only billiard sounds. I don't know.
Maybe that's tonight, man.
That's probably
cue ball or something. Yeah.
Well, dude. So I do want to. So you're a creative guy. We talked a lot about all these other things. All very valuable stuff. I appreciate your insight on it. But we should do a little bit of creative stuff now, right?
I'm all in, Kirk.
So let's cut the conversation now. Yep. Unless, do you have any other stuff that you think that you want to get across that you haven't?
I think the only thing is that as you listen to this podcast, I tried to throw out a lot of different things. And if there's something that you liked that you would want me to expand on, feel free to reach out. Kirk has my number. You can put it in there, whatever. I just like to connect with people. So if you're somebody that's sitting there and is like, man, I really just kind of want to talk through this idea that you said and kind of go a little bit in depth, take the initiative, have the confidence to reach out to me. I'm welcoming it because that's why anybody does podcasts in the first place.
Yeah,
just to reach out and get some ideas out there and make some friends. Right?
Well, you represented yourself and Dale Carnegie.
Hey.
What is it called? Dale Carnegie Corporation, or what is it called?
Dale Carnegie Training. If you're being specific to our franchise, it's Ralph Nichols. Southwest Michigan, Dale Carnegie Training, jumbled thing.
Let's just stick with
Dale Carnegie.
Yeah, sorry, no offense, Ralph, but yeah. No, I appreciate it. I think it's cool that people that were already exposed to you as a rapper are going to be surprised maybe that this is really what you're super passionate about as well. So I think it's, again, don't always judge people. It's natural to judge them, I guess, in 3 to 7 seconds, but keep your heart open, keep your mind open. People will surprise you.
Absolutely.
So,
and as always, check in, tune in, a talk in the attic, baby.
This guy, I wish I could employ him somehow. But okay, now, Garrett, dude, I appreciate it, brother. It was super fun.
Always, man.
Let's do it. Let's make a song or something.
I'm in. Let's
right.
roll.
Cool.
Do you remember as a kid we were invincible? We needed no visuals, the castles were invisible. Remember when a scrape would make mama's kisses medicinal? When cops and criminals was just a game after middle school. Our stories were with dragons and princes that coexist, and a love life consisted of crushes from which we hid. Back when you had a text and got your friends to press send. Back when getting her number was the same as getting her name on AIM. All you needed were your friends, until you had to find a day for a dance your parents made you attend. Varsity athletes were your idols, and relationships didn't even need a title. We didn't worry about being suicidal or working, eating, sleeping, and losing ourselves in the cycle. May not miss it, but I do. Cause as we get older, we realize the world can be cruel, and people you grew up with aren't even there to support you. One day my dad will die, my mama close behind. My older brother means the most, our lives are intertwined. I'm focused on today, but mine is running races, looking at these kids like I wish we traded places. It's not hard to understand the man who stands in front of you came from the love you grew. When you leave, a part of me leaves too. Part of me leaves too. I need to say it more, but I need you. If only I could keep all the people inside a box, and I could open it up whenever I'm feeling lost. It would be the key to keep the memories alive when they are not. When I'm alone, the box shines and reminds me of what I've got. I could tuck it away inside a pocket, the keys with me, but I would never lock it. Keep it open for those broken sleepless nights. Hold it close as gentle thoughts and voices fill the skies. pocket. The keys with me, but I would never lock it. Keep it open for those broken, sleepless nights. Hold it close as gentle thoughts and voices fill the skies. Only I could keep all the people inside a box, and I could open it up whenever I'm feeling lost. It would be the key to keep the memories alive when they are not. When I'm alone, the box shines and reminds me of what I've got. I could tuck it away inside a pocket. The keys with me, but I would never lock it. Keep it open for those broken, sleepless nights. Hold it close as gentle thoughts and voices fill the skies.